Hey guys. Hey everyone, how you doing? Um, I'm kind of sort of tired of my camera being up here, right? So I gotta figure out a way so that I can see everybody like this, because there's like going Twitch coverage going on. I'm bringing in people to watch us. My girls are showing off here.
Well,
Hey.
welcome to a Monday night.
See what happens Monday? I go freaking nuts.
Yeah, we're ready for
It's
some
Mark's fault.
football.
They're gonna blame it on the guest.
But we had to cancel this show before. I think it was health issues. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Probably health issues on my end. I don't know. But at least we got to reschedule our show with Mark, and he, is with us tonight. So what I'm going to do, like I always do, is I'm going to play his bio video, so you know a little bit about him, a little bit about the book we're going to be talking about tonight, and then as soon as the video ends, he'll be with us. This week in the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, we have Dr. Mark Halpern. He is a chiropractor, author, lecturer, certified heart math practitioner who is also certified in additional healing modalities including Psych K and Ho'oponopono. In both his personal and professional life, Dr. Mark has been drawn to methods that promote optimal health and healing of the brain, body, and spirit. But for many years, he's been living a double life. To the outside world, he was confident and capable chiropractor with a growing practice. He excelled at sports, and whenever he could, he succeeded at physically demanding, extreme, and often dangerous outdoor adventures. Yet, this was a man suffering from crippling anxiety when not with a patient or hanging from a cliff. During the initial COVID lockdown, Dr. Mark made the conscious decision to turn what was becoming a disastrous situation into an opportunity to face his biggest fears. He literally reviewed every book, therapy, and method he had tried during his quest to reduce or eliminate the anxiety he experienced for over 30 years. It was a powerful process that enabled him to eliminate the circumstances, habits, or experiences that didn't serve him, and how to create coherence between his heart, mind, and body. Thus, the Coherence Revolution was born. The book and online course, Coherence Revolution, Finding Flow on Your Journey to the Present Moment, was created to teach people how to self-regulate and engage in self-inquiry necessary to create an inspired, healthy, and vibrant life. He is here today to call us to join the Coherence Revolution and to illuminate what that means for you. And we welcome you to the Fox Den, Mark. And here he is.
Good evening.
And here's the book. I love the colors.
Thank you.
It's really funny because on the video when it says you literally like tried everything, you really did. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that has gone to so many different modalities to try to fix your issues.
I didn't want to leave literally any rock unturned. I just knew that there was a way that I could live a better life, a more fulfilling life. And when something didn't work, I just kept trying different things. And, part of the journey was some things I didn't give enough time and some things I gave too much time.
Yeah.
I hate when I give too much time to something, it's like, well, it's got to get better or it's going to change or whatever. But, and again, in the video says a lot, but, the anxiety that you suffered, when did that start and how really was it crippling for you?
Well, I think for me, I saw when you look back on it, you can kind of see the way things went. And for me, it was early high school, just, the regular, you bully someone, they bully you, you make fun of someone, they make fun of you. And I think probably in the grades 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that period, I just started developing what I call tendencies towards feeling anxious. And really it developed throughout high school where I just started feeling more and more uneasy all the time, insecurities coming up. And I mean, at that point, I didn't talk to anybody. You really didn't talk to your friends about it.
You
I
know,
mean, now my 14-year-old son is so much more aware, and the way they communicate is just so much different. We didn't talk to any of our friends. And,
God, no.
I didn't talk to my parents. I think it was maybe a month or two ago, I had a conversation with my parents. Just, was there a time that I ever came to as a teenager and said, boy, I'm anxious about this, or I'm feeling stressed about that? And both my parents looked at me like, no, never. I said, didn't you notice anything?
no,
No, they didn't notice
Right.
anything. So
Yeah,
I
they
just,
just shift us outside, go play, go hang out, go whatever,
they
come
were
back.
they were blissfully unaware. I was doing well in school, and I had friends, and I liked to travel, and so on the outside everything looked wonderful. I just thought maybe they'd give me some insight into maybe what they saw or didn't see, but they didn't really see much. And then I think, the first time I would have called it anxiety, I was maybe 19 or 20, just entering university. And I remember at that point, I found it was some type of seminar offering to explain anxiety. And I remember taking my parents to it, and all three of us sat there in the back of this auditorium, and we just kind of listened. And it was my first introduction to, like, this is a thing, it really
Yeah.
is. But then I went to university. I went into chiropractic school. I was feeling anxiety. For me, it was the way I explain it to people. It's like you're at the edge of almost being thrown out of an airplane, and that fight or flight that appears. That was my day. That was the way I had to interact with people. So I got really good at being able to bring myself back into the moment and speak and engage. And what I did find was that when I was fully engaged, I didn't feel anxiety. It was when you let your brain go and think and get into all the triggers and all that stuff. So I would always try to keep myself very much focused on things. And I would say it was my early 20s. That's when I started doing therapies and medications and energy healers and shamans. And you name it, I tried it, from naturopaths to medical doctors, from, someone who said they're going to take the knives out of me that were put in me in the, 14th century,
Yeah,
to
everything.
to someone that was doing, I had a little tube, and I was doing neurofeedback. I was trying to make this ball move in a tube with just my mood, or the way my focus was. So I literally tried everything. I drove 2 hours from my house to have my spit tested, so that they would see if there was metals, heavy metals in my saliva, and then do a heavy metal detox. So literally from every angle, and so much of it really didn't work and do much. But as I say in my book, is when the pandemic hit, I reviewed everything I'd ever done. And so part of the book is really telling people what didn't work.
Right. And this is quite a bit of it. I was like, really, this guy seriously?
Yes, did it all.
Done it all.
Yes, did it all. And some of the most impactful things I may have tried a decade or so ago, but didn't really stick with it, or didn't give it a full chance, which is heart math, which is sort of the basis of the course. In the book, I mention heart math, but I don't teach it. It's hard to teach just in a book, and heart math has books. It's the course that I designed for online, that I actually teach this technique of heart math, which is using your breath to help you self-regulate and bring out a different emotion. And that really resonated with me. And as I started getting into meditation, I talk about in the book of seeing someone, a doctor named Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is a lecturer, and he talks about how the brain and the heart are connected. And I remember my first lecture with him in Philadelphia. I traveled down there with my wife from Toronto. And the very first time we saw him, they had a team of researchers from heart math there. And so I thought, oh, wow, this is two worlds colliding. I forgot about heart math, kind of. And wow, they're really in. And it was like this meeting of my past and my present. And really, it made sense to me. So that's when I decided to get certified in heart math. But I dove right into Dr. Joe's meditations, which really helped me get into this whole area of self-regulation. Because the idea is you're not going to get rid of anxiety. Anxiety is there for a reason. We need anxiety to warn us of danger.
Hurt ourselves, right?
Right? but we need to be able to self-regulate it. We have to have a way to come back to the present moment and be able to engage in life. And so that's the process that I take people through, this concept of coherence, which is becoming, I guess, in tune and in balance with the world around you, and your heart and your brain, and getting into this rhythm. Once you start delving into that, it's different for everybody, right? But the idea, especially with the book and the course, is for you to go through your own journey. But I'm giving you tips as to how to dive into each area of your life. Different tastes might bring you up or bring you down. Different smells, different sights, different sounds.
You don't know what triggers who. Right.
Right. And so the idea is to figure out what music is it that will bring you into a happy mood, which music will bring you into an inspired mood, which music will calm you down. And most of us don't know specifically. We just know we like this or we like that. Yeah. But
we know specifically what music we don't like.
Right? Yes, that we know. Yeah.
When especially
we turn the station. Yes.
For instance, you're watching a movie and the movie's great, and then all of a sudden they have this horrific music, like head banging, heavy metal, crazy stuff, and it's really, really loud. And I'll get like, you know what? I just can't even watch this movie anymore because I cannot stand this music because it's making me
grit my teeth or cringe or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it does. It has such an impact.
Yeah, so it took me a long time to sort of go through this process, but as I've distilled it down, I want people to have an easy kind of map that if you go through this, by the end of the process, you will have gone through every aspect of your life. You're going to know what I call it depletion versus renewal. Something's either sapping your energy or giving you energy. And the idea is that you don't even know. There's certain people that you might be around that sap you of your energy. They leave you drained. Now all of a sudden you don't have the energy to go and read before bed because that person just took you out of your whole, balance. So the idea is that going through this process, by the end of it, you will have your own toolbox. And in fact, your own, I call it a daily time schedule, where you've created the schedule of what you want to do on a daily basis, but not only what you want to do, what you want to feel. Because most of us don't really practice our emotional state. But I believe you have to practice your emotional state, because without meaning it, we are all practicing stress on a daily basis. We go through the same thoughts, the same emotions, and we're just doing it over and over. And anything you do over and over can be considered a practice. So I think that you're practicing your emotions on a daily basis, and most of the time it's negative emotions. So
you wake up in the morning and you've been having crappy days. You already just envisioned this crappy day. So now your intent is there. It's set in stone, and you're going to have a crappy day.
Well, 95% of everything you do is based upon some pattern that was from days before. Their triggers are happening so quickly. If it's a trigger from when I was 14 years old, it's going to happen before my thought even happens. It just happens. And so the idea is you have to be able to be aware of them. And then once you're aware of what these triggers are, now you can start to say, okay, what do I do in this moment? What do I have set up in my life? Do I have a picture beside my bed? So as soon as I wake up in the morning, that's what I want to balance me. Is there a music that I want to play? Is there something I want to say to my loved one, or I want them to say to me? Really thinking it out and planning it out so that your life is designed to set you up for success. Most of us don't do that at all. We fly by the seat of our pants, and we don't really create the life. We just kind of let it happen, and then we look back and go, oh, well, why did that happen? Well, you've got to consciously create what it is you want to see happen, and then you can live that life, right? Because I talk about in the book,
you got to do the work.
You've got to do the work. And the fact is the work is your life. In other words, every day you get to live that process. I talk about it, a process mindset versus a destination mindset, because most of us have this destination mindset. I will be happy when, right? Yeah. When I get wherever it is I want to get to, I will be happy when. And you realize that you start doing this when you're a kid. I'll be happy when it's my birthday. I'll be happy when I learn to drive. I'll be happy when I get a girlfriend, when I get a boyfriend, when I get married, when I get a job.
Out of school, when I get,
Right. I'll be happy when. All of a sudden, you're 60 years old, and you're like, well, when is it time to be happy? Right. So to me, that's a destination mindset. A process mindset is you set yourself up on a daily basis with the way you want to live your life, the type of things you want to engage in on a daily basis that you've tested, that change your emotional state, that inspire you, that keep you in a positive mood. And then you get up every day and you live that process. You've designed it to live a happy life. And the idea is you follow it. And when you fall off it, you get back on it. It's not perfect, but you have a process set up.
Right. But it's got to definitely, I mean, it's going to take more time for someone than someone else. I mean, like
Sure.
you said, I mean, there's crippling anxiety and then there's regular anxiety, if
Yeah.
there is such a thing as regular anxiety.
I think I have regular. It happens.
Well,
It
exactly.
happens.
Most
It
people.
happens, and I can work through it. And for
Right.
me, and I like the part in the book, and you were just talking about is finding that music, and music isn't always the same thing. Like the music I paint to, bizarrely enough, is country western. Never listened to country before, but for
Okay.
some reason that worked with the painting. For me, I have to have what I call noise. I have to have noise in my ears. And for me, it's music, and it each day is different, but more often than not, it's like it's my old soul showing up. It's like 50s and 60s. It's like I like that. It just sort of mellows me out.
It's
Yeah.
funny you say that about music.
60s, 70s.
We were doing the course live last year, and now I've got a recorded version so that people can do it on their own time.
Okay.
But in week 4, which I think is session 4, I encourage people to get finger paints. And what I did is I put together a track of music that has, I believe it's 15 songs or 17 songs, somewhere around there, and it's 30 minutes in length. And the idea is that it's every genre of music that you can think about. There's drums from Japan, there's classical music, there's country, there's 70s rock, there's pop, there's everything that you could think of. And the idea is that you're going to be finger painting and you want to see how your flow changes based upon the music that's playing. And most of the people that did it had this really profound experience where their art would change, their mood would change as the music shifted, the art would shift. And it was just a really cool experience for people to see how their emotional state changes. So we do that in session 4 because it's kind of wrapping up our senses. We've talked about sight, sound, taste, smell, all of the different senses. And so we wrap it up with this painting exercise that I guide people through. But it's really, again, it's not supposed to be a serious, very solemn
No,
process.
and it's something that you can
enjoy it.
You can understand though. You're pointing out the fact that look at this changed while you have. Oh, I was just going to put that up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Look how this changed when the music changed. All right. So Sharon says I had severe anxiety and I was living in fear every day. Thanks to me, she helped me pull me out of my dark place. Oh, but. Thank you. I mean, we bring all these people like you, and
that's one of the things that's important is having somebody in your corner that you can talk to and know that they're not going to, they think you're nuts anyway, because that's why they're your friend. But I mean, they're not going to think you're more nuts because you're talking about, your feelings and how you're feeling and all the excuse my language, but shit that goes through your body as you start to stress.
I think one of the most important things, sorry to cut you off, is that you don't identify it as you. In other words, I often got in a habit of saying my anxiety or I was always anxious. And it's really helpful when you say a part of me or this old part of me or the anxious part of me. In other words, it's not all of you. So even if you're waking up with severe anxiety every day, there is a part of you in there that is still the sane, energetic, loving person, but the anxiety's kind of taken over. And when you can separate it, that that it's not you, it's not your whole being, you can kind of start to narrow that and make it smaller because it's not all of you. And so for me, when I was in my darkest place, and the woman who just said she woke up with severe anxiety all the time, it's important to realize that it isn't you. It is a part of you. And, just as that very simple shift can help you pull out of it.
Yeah. Carmen says hi first. And then she said, my anxiety's got so bad that to some points I'm doing hyperventilating. So yeah, that's not great. That's like a anxiety attack, right? Like a
Well, let me address that one point because I think this could help that person. What you're hitting on is your breathing is drastically affected when you're anxious. And so hyperventilating, you're trying to get more oxygen in, and you're not really doing it. You're hyperventilating, you end up passing out. But if you think about, I'm not sure if the audience is very familiar with the nervous system, but there are two parts of what's called the autonomic nervous system. One speeds you up, one slows you down. So the one that speeds you up is called the sympathetic system. That's your fight or flight system. That's anxiety. The opposite system is called the parasympathetic system, and that slows you down. That calms you down. That's relax, digest, and rest. That's the parasympathetics. So when you breathe in, your heart rate actually goes up. When you breathe out, your heart rate goes down. So when you breathe in, that's your sympathetics. When you breathe out, that's your parasympathetics. So if you're stuck in an anxiety attack, you're really anxious, if you change your breathing to elongate your out breath, not your in breath, elongate your out breath, you're going to stimulate your parasympathetics, which is your rest and digest system. So you're going to counteract that fight or flight. So even if you don't know the entire heart math protocol, just simply elongating your out breath will help.
That's amazing. That is great advice. But what about what is it with the breathing in the bag thing when they say you're hyperventilating?
Well, that has to do with getting carbon dioxide in the body, and carbon dioxide can essentially it can relax you if you don't pass out. But the fact is it's not a good long-term solution.
Yeah.
And you're not going to breathe into a bag like that when you're in your car, when you're in a meeting, when you're, with loved ones, and you're like you're freaking out, you're sweating, your palms are getting sweaty. I can do it all the time when I still get anxious in a wherever I am. The difference between me now and me 5 years ago is I have the confidence that literally within 20 or 30 seconds, I can get rid of it. Not that it will never come again, but I can get rid of it now simply because I know how to self-regulate. And a big part of it is with your breath. And so learning how to do proper belly breathing, not chest breathing. Most people who chest breathe, what they do is they breathe up and they compress their lungs, which squeezes their lungs together, and it makes it less oxygen and creates stress. Whereas if you breathe through your stomach, you get your diaphragm to come down, your belly comes out, and you're expanding your diaphragm, which is now you're expanding your lungs, getting more oxygen, and then you breathe out through your mouth. So if I can demonstrate, I usually have people with their hand on their chest and one hand on their belly, and I say, this hand shouldn't move. And so what you want to do is go, only at the end of the breath does my hand rise just a little bit, and then out through pursed lips. So even if I'm in a meeting and I'm stressed out and people are talking around me, I can easily just, and then no one knows I'm breathing slowly out of my mouth, but I'm elongating my breath so that I'm stimulating the parasympathetics. And all of a sudden, you bring yourself down.
Yeah.
I absolutely
it makes a lot of sense because I have somebody who's near and dear to my heart that when they were in a panic and an anxiety attack, they would call me, and the only thing I would hear would be so just the inhalation.
Yes.
They would forget to exhale.
Yes.
And I'm the one who, with my calming voice and non-threatening manner, can, as I call it, talk them out of the trees. It gets them to calm down. But because listening to me makes them stop and so that I like that.
Just getting people to breathe out.
Yeah.
Stomach breathe if possible. I mean, it's funny when I have my patients try and do stomach breathing, at least half of them, when they do this, they cannot fill up their stomach like a balloon. When they breathe in, they have to heave their chest up because there's no neurological pathway to their diaphragm to let it expand down. So it takes practice. You've got to train that breathing pattern.
My doctor used to always yell at me because they said, I don't breathe to fill up my lungs. Like I take small, shallow breaths all the time.
That's right.
And he's like, you really should breathe deeper. And I don't. And I don't know why. It's like,
it's
do it with the timing.
it is definitely training. It's you've practiced breathing the way you've breathed your entire life. If you've never been a stomach breather, there's no pathway to allow that to happen. So you've got to consciously start to create it. It becomes easier, and
Yeah.
as you do it, it becomes your natural. I know I am a full stomach breather. I very rarely breathe through my chest, but if I catch myself doing it, I can switch it. But it took time, and it took time to just practice that. But seeing as we have to breathe every day, it's something that you can simply practice, no matter where you are at any time of the day.
So now Carmen, that the same girl, okay, she said, all right, so sometimes she ended up taking Xanax, all right. Now, would it be, as you're going through the program, okay to be taking these pills and stuff, but at the end, is it the like target to get rid of all of that?
So I have had, I'm going to say, a very interesting up and down journey with medications my whole life. From a philosophical standpoint, the body is a self-healing, self-regulating organism. You're not anxious because you don't have Xanax or Prozac or whatever in your body.
Mhm.
But on the flip side of that, I'm also wanting people to live a happy and easy life. And if it takes a medication to take the edge off so that you can do some of the work, so that you can meditate and do the breath work and go have some fun with your friends and play music and watch whatever, show to get your mind off it. If you need to take something to do that, especially short term, then absolutely. Long term, it's harder. I mean, I've been on things for years at a time, months at a time, and then I've been off for years at a time. I have no judgment upon it because I want people to live the easiest life they can. I just know that, there's certain drugs that they don't do what they're supposed to do, and they're very toxic to the system. So I think it's on an individual basis of how it affects you. My fear with Xanax is the fact is it makes you tired. It doesn't inspire you in any way, and it's not making you healthier. So if you have to take it because you need to be functional, no judgment. You've got to do what you have to do. But if it's not making you better, then at the same time as doing it, you should be, in my opinion, doing the work, doing something like the coherence revolution or learning breath work or meditating or something in that realm. Because I've taken Xanax before. It's been probably about a decade since I have, but I just remember it took a bit of the edge off. It didn't make me happy. It didn't really change my mood, and it didn't really solve anything. But yeah, I guess if I was in the middle of a panic attack, it would bring me down. So you have to look at what it's doing on a positive and a negative for you. And if it's not doing as much positive as you'd like, what else are you going to do? It's your life. How much happiness do you want? How much joy do you want in your life? And if you're happy where you're at, great. But if you're not, I encourage you to continue to do work to find more happiness, find more inspiration.
So, because that's kind of where the world is at, though. It's like you get anxiety. Where do you go? You don't go to someone like a chiropractor that's been through all these anxiety things. You don't
Right.
think of that, right? So that's not top of your list. Your top of your list is what? Psychiatrist. What's a
That's right.
psychiatrist do? As soon as they see you, they bring out their pad, they write you a script and send you on your way. Right. And
that's their training. That the fact is that's their training. If you go into a Chinese food restaurant, you're going to get Chinese food. And if you go into a pizza restaurant, you're going to get pizza. So, God love them. They're there for a purpose and when you need them. However, you're the master of your health. So you've got to be able to determine, is this good for me now? And is it good for me long term? And
Yeah.
if the answer is yes, then okay. But there's always trade-offs. And the idea is you have to be okay with the trade-off of whatever the side effect is, whatever it's doing to the rest of your health. And so each person has to kind of make that call. Obviously, if you can be happy and healthy without it, that would be the end goal. But I don't think that's the goal of the coherence revolution is not to get you medication free. It's to get you to set up a life that works for you. It's to get you to set up a life that inspires you. And the result of that will be less medication, less external help.
yeah. Well, I
but
do
not
think
make-
too, now when you're more upbeat and you're more happy, your system tends to like heal itself
Yes.
on a much higher level.
Ab-
When you're depressed
absolutely.
and anxiety filled all the time, it just that's when all the
So,
disease.
so there's a diagram in my book that looks like a sine wave.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and the fact is what HeartMath did is they started measuring people's heart rhythm, and there were different emotions like happiness and gratitude, that your heart rhythm would go into a perfect sine wave when you felt those emotions, and when you felt negative emotions, they went into jagged responses. And so literally your emotion will affect your heart, and when your heart rhythm changes, your brain rhythm changes, because your heart's rhythm. Yep, exactly. Your heart rhythm is about 40 times stronger than your brain's. So if you can get your heart rhythm into a smooth pattern, you can start to affect the higher centers of your brain, which is decision making and stress. So that's why heart math is so powerful, when you start to breathe and feel different emotion. Because there's actually three parts to heart math. One is visualization. You visualize the oxygen going in and out of your heart. Two is breathing rhythm. You breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Three, you bring on an emotion. So, for instance, they've got some biofeedback technology. And what you do is you hook yourself up to a thumb monitor or an ear monitor, and it measures your heart rhythm. And when you hit coherence, when you get into this heart rhythm that's called coherence, there's a little thing that goes green and it makes a beep. It goes beep and it goes into this nice smooth rhythm. So you know you're there. The only danger with this technology is that if you're anxious and you're doing this technique and it's not going into green, it's staying in red, the tendency is you get frustrated because you're like, why aren't I doing this right? But
Right.
you have to get past that and just continue to do the technique. And I remember
It's just tough for us OCD overachiever type people.
Yes, because you want to achieve the
I have no idea who you're talking about.
But the first time I did it, the first time I really experienced coherence with this technology, I was sitting on my bed and I was doing the breath work and I was breathing relaxed and I was visualizing the oxygen. And then to try and bring on an emotion, I was thinking about a beach. I was thinking about lying on clouds. I was thinking about things that make me happy, and nothing was working. And I remember thinking, geez, what am I doing wrong? And then I don't know, but inspiration hit me, and I pictured in that moment my daughter, who was about 6 or 7 at the time. I pictured her jumping in my arms and giving me a hug. And the idea was I didn't just visualize the hug. I felt it. I felt her arms around me. I felt the kiss on the cheek. I literally felt it. And then without even having to hear the beep, I knew that my body had a whoosh come over it. And of course the technology went beep and I looked on the screen and my heart was in this perfect rhythm because the emotion was able to change my heart rhythm. And that heart rhythm then changed my brain rhythm and my entire system changed. That's coherence. And so if people are wondering if coherence is an actual thing, you'll know when you're there. You feel it. It's not just a fictitious thing that you're never going to attain. When you're in coherence, every cell in your body is going, I feel good. You really
And that's like
feel
the
it.
tip of the iceberg. So once you hit it, it's like good. All right, now it's a drug itself. Okay,
Yes, and now you know how to get there. And now the
Yeah.
idea is to practice getting there in harder situations, getting there for longer, for getting there in different situations in your life and in your day. And
Right.
so the key with heart math is you can know the technique, but then you can practice with the biofeedback. And so there's lots of ways to get to do it. In my course that I teach online, I take people through, there's probably 5 or 6 different versions of heart math, different ways of getting into that coherent state. So each session we discuss heart math. I get people to practice, and then you learn how to do the technique. You don't need the biofeedback technology, but if you'd like it, it's good to help you. Otherwise, you can just learn the technique without it.
Yeah. And this is a case in point, which is a good segue for this. Again, Carmen, I had a really bad one. Let's talk about panic attacks before she was supposed to travel and get on a plane. And then she said, I'd love to travel without having a panic attack or anxiety. So that would be the win-win. Like what is it that triggers you getting anxious?
So it's interesting. I had one of these type of people that had panic attacks going on airplanes. In the book, I talk about a technique called Psych-K, psychology kinesiology. It was invented by a guy named Dr. Bruce Lipton. He wrote a book called The Biology of Belief, which, if you've never read The Biology of Belief, should go #1 on your list. It's an awesome book.
Yeah, and just to say too, on the back of the book in your appendix and stuff,
Yes.
you have all these different books listed.
Yes.
In here, good books, by the way.
Yes, and so muscle testing, if you've never seen it, essentially, if you stick out your arm and someone wants to push it down, you can do it, as you were saying, like this. There's different ways to muscle test, but generally you're going to be weak when your subconscious and your conscious don't agree. And so you can then use it almost like a lie detector, right? You can start saying, I love myself. And if it's weak, well, you don't have a subconscious saying that I love myself. I deserve to be happy. If it's weak, you don't have a subconscious, input that says, or thought that says, I deserve to be happy. But you can start to delve into someone's subconscious. And so when you start to find out why someone is the way they are, why they're afraid, you can start inputting with this technique, Psyche, a belief system into the subconscious that says, I love flying, and you can start to correct some of these beliefs. So what I suggest for people with that is A, find someone who does Psyche, which is really powerful. And then B, you learn how to do heart math so that before you get on a plane, you get yourself in the most coherent rhythm you can, and you practice it while you're on the plane. The idea is to stay in coherence as long as you can. So yeah, I think people like that can certainly be helped and discover why they're getting triggered.
Yeah, that's my question in my head is, what is it that's triggering her? What is it like? Is it fear of plane crashing? Is it being small places? To me, that's where she, I would start, but I'm not a professional.
Of course.
Right.
Well, it could be any number of things. I mean, it could be that, as a kid, you saw a TV show that scared the heck out of you. And all of a sudden, you're an adult and you don't have a conscious memory of anything negative, but you're terrified of planes.
Exactly.
You just don't know when that belief system started. Maybe at a very vulnerable time that you took in this message, right?
Yep. So you can get this book on Amazon. You can go to www.coherencerevolution.com and see the courses and everything on there that is listed on there. Now, the course, like you said, like it's going to kind of take a little bit longer and less time for others. But basic thing. How do people,
Sure. So first of all, any of your listeners, if you go to the website, COHERENCERevolution.com, I've made it so you can download the ebook for free. So if you don't want an actual paper copy, you can download the book for free. Anybody tonight that's watching or listening, go and download it. It's nothing attached. You can go and download it. And I created a code. It's called CR30, which will give you 30% off the recorded course. So what I was saying about the course before is that it used to be a 6-week live program. The problem with it was that people were loving it, but there was so much information. And if you were going to do a proper job and dive into each aspect of your life, a week wasn't enough to go through all the material we covered on the Monday to get to the next Monday. So that's when I determined, this is better right now as a recorded course, because you can, it's divided. I think there's about 23 videos ranging from 10 minutes to 20 minutes. There's 6 different sessions. So within each session, there's 4 or 5 videos, 3, 4, 5 videos in each session. But it's divided out so that you'll learn some breath work. Then we'll go into a concept. Then we'll have some discussion about something to do with stress, something to do with your belief system, something to do with how to inspire yourself. And then we'll get into a type of coherence. So whether it's auditory coherence or visual coherence, or we talk about subconscious coherence, and that's when we bring in Psyche or muscle testing and I explain it. And so each week or each session goes through different topics. And when you sign up, you'll be able to see descriptions of them. But you'll just have access to the back end of the website. And then essentially you just go video through video. And if you go session 1 through 6, it takes you through all of it. There's also a workbook when you get the program, and the workbook has all kinds of worksheets. So there'll be a worksheet for auditory coherence. There'll be a worksheet for figuring out who the people are in your life that deplete you versus renew you. And then there's a template at the very end called the DTS, where you're going to put down everything you want to do in your life on a daily basis. So I get up at 6 a.m., I go to bed at 11 p.m., what do I do in the morning? What do I do after? Everything that you put in your life that you've designed. And then you start putting in what emotions you want to feel at different times of the day. And now you've got a toolbox that you've developed through the whole course of how to attain different emotions. Because the fact is if you look at emotions on a spectrum, there's quite a big difference between becoming peaceful and becoming exuberant. Right? One is high energy, one is low energy. They're both positive emotions, but you're going to do different things to feel exuberance than you are going to do to become peaceful and tranquil. And so the idea is if you want to be tranquil in the evening and inspired in the morning, what are you going to do to achieve those emotions? And so the idea is for you to have an idea how to use the toolbox you've just now developed to create those different emotions. And then you just literally start to live this life. You start to practice the emotions of your dream life. And as you start to practice the emotions of your dream life, that dream life becomes more possible to attain because it becomes familiar. You already know what the emotions feel like. You know, I talk about if you go on vacation, what you're really paying for.
Sorry, I keep moving because I need a chiropractor.
Yeah. You know, when we go on vacation, we think of ourselves lying on a beach or lying in a hot tub or whatever it is. But what we're really picturing is the emotion that we feel in those periods of time. Whereas some of us, like me included, when you're an anxious person, when you go on vacation, unless you've done something, well, there you are. You know, wherever you go, there you are. Now you're the anxious person in the hot tub. So what you're really trying to practice or get is the emotion that you envision. And so if you start practicing the emotion of being in the hot tub before you even go on the vacation, you don't need that vacation nearly as much because you've already started to practice that type of emotional response and you're renewing yourself on a daily basis. And so the idea is what on a daily basis, how much renews you and how much depletes you. People who fall into bed at the end of the day are exhausted because they've depleted themselves. There's other people that are inspired by the end of the day. So the idea is, what do you need to do to fill your tank up every day?
Yes, that is all fabulous and perfect, and I know it all. Let's see, I know the feeling. I'm going to PT for my back. Yep. Massage time. Yeah. Well, yes. I need.
They're all concerned about you. They want you to get yourself fixed up.
Right. I know. I love my people. Like this, we have great people that watch and share the show. They're not used to seeing us here on a Monday, so we don't.
Yeah,
exactly. The funny thing is I'm a chiropractor, and most people think of chiropractors as back pain people, but chiropractic really had nothing to do with back pain. It was about the way your nervous system functions, and when it's malfunctioning, the reason it's malfunctioning is due to some type of stressor. Could be physical, chemical, emotional, electromagnetic. And so the idea is that what I'm really dealing with when people come in, they want me to get rid of their back pain. But what I'm talking to them about is how can we get your body more resilient, more adaptable to stress? But what they're talking about is sitting at their desk. Well, picture the average person that sits at their desk all day. Remember a moment ago, I told you if your arm is weak due to a negative thought, I'm using my arm as a lever, but I could use any muscle in my body. I could test my leg, my back, my arm. It doesn't matter. They're all going to go weak. So if you think of yourself, let's say you're sitting at your desk and gravity's, pushing down on you all day and you're trying to oppose gravity and sit up. Well, if the thought process in your head is, man, I love this job. I love my life. I'm doing amazing. I love life. Well, after 4 or 5 hours at your desk, you get up, you stretch a bit, and you go, wow, that was a great day. But if you're at your desk and it's 9 a.m. and you're already going, oh, God, I got to do the groceries, and my wife is going to divorce me, and I'm going broke, and all these negative. Well, your arm goes weak, but so do your paraspinal muscles. So now gravity's pushing down on you, and instead of your muscles being able to support you, all the force goes into your spine. Now you start aggravating the joints of your neck and in your back. And now you're starting to get irritable bowel syndrome and neck pain and exhaustion and headaches and all of this physical symptoms that are caused because of the negative thoughts you had.
Do you know how many people right now, sorry, Mark, in the chat room and those who are listening are going, wait a minute, that's me. What? That's
yes.
It's like, oh my God, you're like flipping the switch for people who are living with it and not realizing that one thing leads to another.
Well, our thoughts directly are connected to the strength of our what's called our motor nervous system. Mm-hmm. And if we have negative thoughts, our motor nervous system goes weak. And if that goes weak, our spine starts to get irritated. And if that starts to happen, now you've got the back pain. Now you've got a lot of these other symptoms you're getting. So not that there's no room for chiropractic and physical therapies, but most people, when they come in, they're not prepared. They want to come in and say, Doc, these are my problems. Can you please just get rid of them? Yeah. And, they're not even open.
Yeah, my chiropractor, I do that to him. It's like, Dr. Diana, so could you, ow.
Yes.
Ow. And then when I leave there, I'm just like,
yes, but the best thing they could do for you is give you tools such as heart math, things that help you self-regulate your emotional response, because otherwise it's just temporary. And I would much rather someone get adjusted than go take an aspirin, of course. But to really allow the body to become more resilient, which is really what chiropractic is about, allowing the spine to be more resilient. But what the Coherence Revolution is about is allowing your emotions to become more resilient. The idea is you want to be able to handle more. You don't want to go down every time something is stressful and triggering.
Yeah.
Debbie just had her knee surgery and doing well. Yeah. See, Carmen says she wants a long-term fix, so.
I think
long-term
it's like
fix is setting yourself up. Long-term fix means that you have to put in the work. And when you put in the work, and when I say work, it doesn't have to be hard work. It literally, like I believe if you go through the Coherence Revolution, you're going to enjoy the process. But once you've done that, you will have a toolbox that you can use the rest of your life to essentially create long-term patterns. Because if you're being honest with yourself, the patterns you have right now started 30, 40 years ago, depending upon your age. And to think that within a week or two of seeing a therapist or getting on medication or whatever it is, you're going to get rid of it all, it's just not going to happen. These patterns, they're happening every day.
They took a while to create, so it's going to take a while to repair them.
Right. But if you're conscious of it and you keep on top of it, you will create new patterns, new habits, and it will start happening.
Right. Yeah. As Carmen says, I'm tired of this pinching, burning in my back. Well, that is nerve, like either pinch nerve or nerve damage when you get the burning, right? Like I have to go to a neurologist about nerves going down my leg. I actually got shingles on my ankle.
Oy.
So it, because there's like 3 sections where you could get shingles. You can get it in your head, you can get it in your torso, or you can get it down your legs. I didn't know you could do that because it follows the nervous system. But apparently there's something that is so wrong with the nervous system on that side that it actually followed it all the way down and broke out my ankle, which I couldn't even walk. I mean, I've never felt anything so painful.
I talk about in the book, there's a process of the process that I was just talking to you about the thoughts. And when you think these negative thoughts, what happens is your body gets weaker and it has to use more energy to accomplish the same tasks. And if your body has to use more energy to accomplish the same tasks for any long period of time, then you're in what would be called a state of dis-ease. In other words, you're not functioning well. And if you're in a state of dis-ease for long enough, the cells don't replicate or function as well. And eventually that state of dis-ease turns into a disease because your cells aren't replicating and functioning well enough. So for some people, it is shingles. For other people, it's frequent ear infection. Other people, it's irritable bowel lactose intolerant.
I really just started the Z-Pack today too for ears because I woke up this morning and every sound is amplified and everything. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, give me a Z-Pack.
Well, and the fact is most people will give you a laundry list of all of their physical or emotional problems as if they're all different. I've got this one going, I get frequent colds, and I've got irritable bowel, and I'm exhausted, and I get headaches. But they're all manifestations of your body not being adaptable enough, not resilient enough. Then something is going to occur. So the idea is to work from the core of it, which is get yourself more resilient to the world around you. Then all of these things will be dealt with, as opposed to looking at them all as separate entities, which, you might have to do some type of medical recourse for each of the individual things, but that's not going to get rid of the reason why all of these things are happening. That comes from your body not being resilient enough. And so I encourage people, no matter what you're doing, I don't want you to stop doing whatever medical intervention you're doing, but you want to add to it something to allow your body and brain to become more resilient. Because the more resilient you become, the more adaptable you are to the world around you. And those of us who are more adaptable live a much more inspired and happy life.
Right. See, I feel bad for poor Sharon now. She actually, they put a thing in her back with all these wires and everything else attached to it. And it worked for a while, but then it became detached and stopped working. And then they had to take it out. And now she lost feeling in both of her legs. And now they're saying they can't pinpoint something. And it's like she's getting this runaround,
That is so hard.
And in the meantime, she's suffering.
Talk about anxiety provoking. But you see, if that's the case, and I learned this from many of my teachers, but the fact is when that kind of thing happens, you want to create a visualization that feels real. So if I were in that situation and I couldn't feel my legs, I would be meditating every day, where in that meditation, I'm getting it as vivid as I can, how well my legs work, how all the information from my brain is traveling down, even learn and look at the anatomy, look at an anatomy book so you can visualize it. And I would be visualizing all of the energy from my brain coming down, going to my legs, visualizing what it's going to be like to walk and how great it feels to walk. And the idea is that the brain doesn't know what is real and what isn't real when you're visualizing it. Right. And it's why, you can practice. Athletes will practice sometimes their routine in their brain, over and over, because as they're practicing it, the brain is actually going through it. And so you want to make it as real as you can. There were studies of these people who created visualizations of cancer, and they had this vivid visualization set up where they pictured their T cells creating a war on all of the cancer cells, and how the T cells would go in and essentially destroy all the cancer cells. And the more vivid the visualization, the better these people were at actually getting rid of their cancer. And there's story after story of people who get into this type of work. The problem with it, when you go and you see some of the Christian healers and they say, you're healed, and they get up, and you hear people who are charlatans and what have you. The fact is my belief is, if you are 100% certain that you will be healed, you will be healed.
Yeah.
But it can't be 98%. It can't be, I think it, or I'm positive, but you have to believe it, because that is where the certainty comes in. And then your nervous system is going to do what it needs to do. I mean, I was sitting beside people at one of Dr. Joe's retreats, this woman that I sat with for 3 days, and she showed me her MRIs. She had before and after. This was her 5th Dr. Joe week or whatever, and she carried these MRIs with her, because before her first Dr. Joe, she went in and she had a stroke. She couldn't feel, move her legs or anything. And then after, it was either her first or second week-long meditation retreat, doing these guided meditations, coming up with these visualizations, they couldn't find any evidence on the follow-up MRI that there ever was a stroke, because it was healed. It was gone. There was just no evidence that it ever existed, because she had 100% belief that it was gone. And guess what? It was gone. And so when people say, oh, yeah, well, that doesn't work for me. Well, I get that, because I've never healed myself just with my own mind, because I know I've got a little bit of doubt. But the idea is that you want to work on the fact that if you can literally feel it and believe it to be true, those are the people that are told you're never walking again. And then 8 weeks later, they walk out of the hospital.
Yep.
Because they had a belief that they could do it.
That's what all our shows lately have been about. Really.
Miraculous healings.
Yeah. And it's like, believing yourself,
Yes.
trusting yourself. As a matter of fact,
and it's like you said, it's not just
trust is Thursday show.
Right.
It's not just a little bit of belief. You have to believe it 100%. Live it, breathe it, walk it, talk it. You have to be there.
Yes.
And that's for some people, that's not an easy thing to do because they've danced with whatever their malady is.
That's right.
Anxiety, cancer. They've danced with that for so long that that's all they hear from doctors. And it's not easy, but it's something that needs to be worked with.
Yeah. But with Mark, it's more like, he's been there and done that. He's done all these different things already, like for us, right? He's outlaid. They're all outlined in here.
He's been our guinea pig.
You can read it. Yeah, he was our guinea pig. He's done it, and now he knows what works, and he's had that crippling anxiety, and so this is more like that. There are all these other things that we, have on the show that they're all great in their own right,
And this shows he is proof to those people who are like, you know what? He's done it. He's been there, done that. Yeah. So look at him. He can do it. I'm sorry, Mark, but if a man can do it, I'm sorry.
He's not a mess. He's here. He's doing really well.
Well, the funny, we've all gotten over some type of anxiety in a moment without realizing it. I use an example in the book. Let's say you're at home, you're having a panic attack, and you're crying or you're screaming or whatever it is that you do, and then your doorbell rang, and you had to get the package. Generally speaking, you're not going to go and answer the door crying. What you do without even realizing it is you summon up enough energy to wipe the tears, you straighten your shirt, whatever you got to do. You open the door and you're not crying. You're, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
And in that moment, you don't feel the anxiety. You actually feel good. And then I'm sure in part of your mind, you're like, oh, I got to get rid of this person because I'm in the middle of breaking down. I got to go back and break down, But the fact is in literally 30 seconds, you pulled yourself together, you got through the anxiety attack, and you opened your door. Yep. And it took an awful lot of effort, but you did it because in the moment you didn't think about it. You just had to do it.
It just happened.
That's sometimes what you have to do on a daily basis. And I have to do that sometimes with every patient I have. I might have 20 patients back to back where I'm just with them. I'm engaged. And as long as I'm engaged, I'm the most passionate, doctor I can be. But if it's a bad day and I've got an hour between patients and I let my monkey brain go to whatever it goes to, all of a sudden anxiety can rear its head. Yeah. And the idea is that you have to know that it's lurking there, but that you can control that aspect of yourself by summoning up the energy and getting yourself into a different physiological state. And so the idea, again, if I bring it back to the coherence revolution, is you want to have as big a toolbox as you can to change your physiological state. Because, if you're like me, you always wanted to almost stay in the anxiety because there was a part of you that wanted to figure out whatever the danger was, figure out whatever the problem was, figure out whatever was causing this anxiety. But 99.999% of the time, you are not going to figure it out. There's nothing to figure out, and you're not going to come to an answer. So the better thing to do is to change your physiological state, because then when you look back at the problem, it's not nearly the same intensity as it was. Mm-hmm. So, for me, easily, boom, I go grab my guitar, I play something, change, instant, put on a song, instant, call someone that I can speak to, instant. These things.
Grab your puppy.
I hug my dog all the time because she's pure love, right? Yeah. That's why, dogs, until I got a dog about 3 years ago, I didn't realize exactly how true that was.
I know.
They are pure love. Yes. We have a 3-year-old double doodle, and she's 60 pounds. We were told she was going to be 35. And she kept growing, and now she's just part of the family, and just the greatest. But they really are. They share love. And so the idea is that I know with my toolbox, I've got a dozen things just on the tip of my tongue I can do right now to change my physiological state. So that's what I want for you. That's what I want for your listeners, is to be able to have this toolbox created that you can have, so that, anxiety attack, okay, I can get out of it. I know I can do these things and I can move on with my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is it. It's like, that is that feeling, like, that hug my dog feeling, that's the end game. That's the goal. That's how you want to be. Right.
That is a coherent feeling. And in fact, in my, in the course, I have a slide. They did tests with dogs. They actually put the heart monitor on the dog and on the human. And when the human walked in the room, the dog and the human's heart rhythm synced up. And then they became this sine wave together. And then when the human left the room, the hearts became unsynced again. So when you think you're feeling love with your dog, you are. I mean, you're literally syncing up your heart, which is very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just rescued this little dog, Biscuit, his little Chihuahua. He is absolutely the love of my life. I have this ring. This is in honor of my Lacey that I lost. And she was the love of my life. I mean, she meant the world to me, because she was there when I lost my lab, who was, again, the love of my life, my lab, right? And my husband, and all I had was Lacey, and now I lost Lacey, and it was like, that was my last connection to the two of them, and then I was like, I'm not getting another dog.
Yeah, she said that often.
And then, this dog looks like a little fox. He does. He looks like a little fox. And my neighbor was watching him and said, he's in need of rescue. He's older. He's 14. And I said, oh, I can't do it. And then I'd see him and I'd be like, well, just bring him over for a visit. and that was it. It was just this instant fun. I cannot even go into the bathroom without this dog he's right here. I can't go anywhere without him right by my side. And, I mean, that's how I wake up in the morning. That's my happy place, right? I get kisses from the puppy, and I look over, and Bob, my other love of my life, Bob, he brings me coffee. So I have coffee there. I have coffee. I have puppy. Happy.
That's so nice.
Happy Gina. When there's no coffee, no puppy.
You know one Gina angry.
Yeah, we don't.
Question to Carmen in the chat room. She says she has no more fur babies and she misses them, and she's hoping that, on a second comment, she's hoping that no more Xanax for the anxiety. Why don't you look into getting a fur baby that is your therapy dog or therapy cat or therapy? They got therapy horses, they got therapy everything. So look into doing that. That may help remove the Xanax. But still, do the work. Find out where the anxiety comes in. Get Mark's book. See every book, even if it's just a smidgen of help. There's always help. But maybe look into getting a pet, a pet, a therapy, something. And a lot of therapy animals are allowed on planes. So even if it's you sitting there, I mean, I have a Shih Tzu. Looks like it's a dead dog right there. But when I used to go to work, he would lay on my desk, because he knows how I sometimes get stressed. So that he's not a registered therapy dog, but I know with him laying on the desk, laying wherever, I'm good. So maybe that's something.
That's a good idea. I thought of the same thing when great minds think alike.
When she pulls something different, my father would say.
Maybe you should. But she's got that, the fear of the travel and stuff. Now, I know people that have had fear of travel, and it's like, and they go on a vacation like every year, maybe even more than one, and because they have to, I'm like, why do you have to? If you work yourself up to this like crazed, insane person, packing, flying, getting there, itinerary, this, that, and you obsess so much, and you just like this the whole time. What is the point?
Those are the people that when they come home, they need to have a vacation from their vacation.
Right.
I like a vacation.
I see a lot of almost the opposite of that, where I have people that are coming into me feeling immense amounts of pain, back pain, headaches, this, that, and the other. And they'll say to me, I'm so afraid to go on vacation without you. You're not going to be there. I can't have care. What do I do when I'm away? And then they go away and they come back, and I see them, day after they come back or a couple days later, and they come in. I say, so how was it? And they go, I was fine while I was away, but I must have carried my bag wrong from the airport because when I got home, my back was killing me. And I'm like, yeah, but when you were there, weren't you sleeping on different beds, on different chairs? You were walking in the sand on uneven, you were doing all these things that could aggravate your condition. But when you were away, you weren't part of your day-to-day stressors in Toronto. You were somewhere else. You were a different person, literally. And you didn't have those stressors when you were there. And guess what? You didn't have your back pain. But as soon as you came back to everything that you lived with, it all came back. It wasn't because you carried your bag wrong from the airport. It's because all
that extra baggage
in your pattern. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All that extra baggage was waiting for you. When
it was all waiting for you right here. So, it depends, but you're right. If going away is creating that, then I would have a staycation that you just inspire yourself and love yourself as much as you can in your city or wherever.
Program or do something like that. Yes. Learn how to meditate if you don't know how. But Athena is here. So I'm going to have to, we're going to take a little teeny little break with her. And she'll be with us right after this little video telling what the crystal of the week will be.
Oh, hello, loves. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that beautiful intro. I am Athena Barry, Reiki Master and author of award-winning book, Raise Your Vibes. And of course, my new Oracle deck, Raise Your Vibes Crystal Cards, which I'm so excited. And I'll show you a card in a moment. And creator, of course, of Crystal Reiki Healer. So I am so grateful, as always, to be back joining you for another Crystal of the Week segment. And this week we get to have two, which is so much fun and so appropriate. So here we are in the Fox Den, and let's dive in. So for this week's show, and it is coming up, our last full moon of 2022. It's happening this Thursday and Wednesday, Thursday, depending where you are. And so I really felt called to the energy of lepidolite. I'll show you these beauties. I have a couple color variations here for you. So this crystal, and why it's so important for this week, and I thought for this show, is this crystal is all about soothing anxiety, balancing strong emotions, and is a major stress reliever. It's like the stone of serenity. So I use this crystal a lot, actually, for my clients in their crystal grids during distance Reiki to help restore their inner peace and their peace of mind, especially helpful for those that deal with anxiety. On a physical level, this crystal is wonderful for soothing insomnia, especially caused by an overactive mind, worry, stress, nightmares. New moms will know a lot about this as well. This calming crystal can really soothe and support any hyperactivity as well, especially symptoms of like ADHD or those struggling with an overactive mind, people with too much weighing on them, too many burdens. This one just really helps bring in that sense of calm so you can focus on the now and not what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Because none of that matters. All that matters is right now. On an emotional level, lepidolite helps us to balance our emotions, especially those stronger ones that tend to kind of take over our mind's thoughts and interfere with our relationships, whether it's with our children, our spouses, or our friends. These can really be affected when our mood is, disrupted, right? And we have the full moon. So for many of us, especially this week, women, it can throw off our cycles. So this lepidolite crystal really, almost dropped it, really helps us to deal with those emotional and hormonal highs and lows. And because of our full moon this week, a lot of people complain about how, oh, it must be the moon, it's making me crazy, or, oh, my cycle just started, it's because of the full moon. So grab your piece of lepidolite, keep it close, and this will be an excellent choice to help you just to stay nice and centered and feeling balanced. Spiritually, this crystal, it actually supports all of our chakras, but it is especially helpful for our third eye and our heart chakras. For the heart chakra, it helps us to feel kind of like we're stopping to smell the roses, right? With that loving energy. It's fantastic for people who suffer with, a lot of insecurities as well, whether it's, about your body, how you're performing at work, how you're performing, at the gym or whatever. Hello, love. Whatever you are, experiencing insecurity wise, partnerships, this is a really good one to, boost up that confidence and bring again that emotional balance. And likewise, it helps us to let go of, depression, emotional attachments that we might have to, past traumas, so that these are not controlling our lives and continuing to come up in new cycles or new relationships, new experiences in our lives, kind of helping us to let go of those. Does not have to be part of our identity. And lepidolite really helps us to let go of that, to bring it to the surface, help it release. And then we can move on with our best step, our best foot forward, and feeling emotionally stable and balanced. For our third eye chakra, it can really help to enhance intuitive gifts, because we're coming from, this state of just calm, right? Where you can see clearly, where you can hear clearly, where you don't have all this, kind of mind chatter or heartache that's popping in. You're able to just kind of stay positive and see clearly in the here, in the now, and have that positive sense of consciousness and that viewpoint. And as well as, it activates our connection to the divine, right? Or to the divine being, and helps us to also recognize that we too are divine beings and deserving of love as well. You'll find lepidolite in many colors, ranging from the more common, which is like a darker purple, to a lighter pink, even a lilac, which is very common now coming from Africa. But you'll also see them in kind of a grayish color. Sometimes like this could be like a darker gray, and sometimes even like in a whiter color. The most common, or the most high quality, I should say, deposits of lepidolite you'll find in Africa, in Brazil, in Greenland, and right here in the US. And in the US, I was excited to learn, the best spots are in Maine, as well as not too far from me here in Southern California, just down a little bit in San Diego, which kind of made me feel like that's fun. I'm ready to go for a hike and go explore. So if anybody's in the San Diego area, maybe you'll want to take a hike with me. That would be so much fun. Ways that you can work with this crystal. It is an excellent, excellent choice for your spiritual baths. So this has a level of lithium in there, right? So this is very calming, and it's obviously not enough to be prescription strength, but that calming energy is really wonderful in your bathtub. It's kind of like being immersed in this warm, like loving embrace, kind of womb-like even. And it has that beautiful soft energy that just kind of washes over your mind, body, and spirit. And as I said, I love to use them in crystal grids, both for myself as well as for others. You'll find it used in jewelry. It's great, of course, keep it in your bra, tucked into your bra or in your pocket, under your pillow, as well, of course, as holding it between your hands or next to you while you meditate. Just bringing in, especially for those that struggle to meditate because your mind keeps going. So lepidolite just kind of brings it all down, gives you that peaceful, calming energy. And that also helps you to clear your mind so you're able to continue with your meditation. So it's a great tool for those that struggle with meditation. And of course, I promise I will have an ASMR crystal Reiki healing session up for you soon on my own channel. This one kind of came up sooner than I was able to put one together for you, but I promise to have one up there very soon. Maybe not tonight, but by tomorrow, I should have it up and running for you. And just so you can help connect to that energy if you don't have a piece of your own. And of course, I have lepidolite in my new crystal oracle deck. I have it up there on the shelf. And so, I was kind of not surprised, but in a wonderful way. I was looking through and I was like, oh my goodness, that's one of the first ones I worked on. And it was because it is the first crystal card in my new deck. And it is for the Reiki Precept Crystal. Just for today, I will not worry, which I just love that because it's so appropriate. And the whole deck has that beautiful calming energy as well. And so, of course, it starts out with lepidolite. Just for today, I will not worry. And of course, I love to leave you with a wonderful affirmation to help you connect with your crystal's energy, or later if you have the oracle deck in hand. And for lepidolite, it is, I am at peace knowing my mental, physical, and spiritual bodies are balanced. Thank you, love, so much for having me back here on the Fox Den. I hope that this has brought value to your show today.
Thank you so much, love.
I love you. Thank you. You're most welcome. Always a pleasure.
Mark, Athena, Mark.
Hi,
Hello.
Athena.
Hello, Dr. Mark Halpern, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful to see you. I hope that added some value to your show. I think the timing was good. We were talking about anxiety.
It was fabulous timing. It worked perfect.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
wonderful.
I have
Awesome.
my three stones out here.
Three of them. I love it.
Yes. We deal with a lot of stress here.
I have no idea why. I have no idea why.
I don't know what she's talking about. No stress. No stress.
I think it has something to do with
No stress because I have these, and my little pile of rocks,
There
But
you go.
Mark, her husband is a chiropractor.
Oh, really?
Yes. I happen to be married to the best chiropractor in Southern California.
Wow. Love that.
I mean,
I have to say that one, don't you?
Yes, love that.
I mean,
Where in Southern California?
He's in Westwood, in West Los Angeles, kind of near like Santa Monica area. And the poor guy had to work on me for 16 years.
Wow.
Until I finally took my power back and, helped to heal myself. But he was a huge support while I was dealing with my own back struggles. So
yeah, beautiful.
I feel for you guys. It's hard to be married to somebody in pain all the time.
Yeah, well, yes, I get that a lot. People who are in their chronic pain patterns, but as you know, there's much more to it than just the back pain. So lots of different answers.
Yes,
there is. Yes, I mean, her. It's not just that she had just had pain. She was in a really bad car crash. So there was a lot of damage. And there was a lot of recovery and whatnot.
And rolled over 4 times on the freeway.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was in a hit and run accident. Yeah, just a little accident.
Just sounds like more than a little, but yes.
It was. Yeah. I mean, it changed the course of my life. Absolutely. But it was really through energy healing and, from what I've seen of your work, it's a lot of working on other levels of your body, your spiritual body, your emotional body, because all of this manifests physically, right?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
when we take care of those parts, you see, when you have a really strong spiritual or emotional body, that also manifests into your physical form. And that,
Right.
that was in the end.
Ultimately, that is the goal he's trying to come to, is what you went through.
Yes.
Get to that state.
Yeah, it's finding out how to get your body into a healing rhythm.
That's right.
Yes, I love that.
She was a Reiki master, and she had to be reminded of the fact you are a Reiki master. Okay, you do this work, heal yourself.
Yeah. It took my husband yelling at me over the operating table or the recovery table. You're a Reiki man. Oh yeah.
I
And
forgot.
yeah. Oh, can I do that? I mean, it's different, when you're doing Reiki, you're working with spiritual tools. A lot of the time you're in this beautiful, calm, serene setting, right?
Yeah.
You're not in a trauma situation. And when you're in that trauma situation, it's really hard to kind of pull yourself out of that, like you're saying, like that chronic pain, like cycle. It's hard to get yourself out. So I had a great coach that, stood over me and gave me that beautiful reminder. And that really was like kind of the beginning of the end of that part of my healing journey, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you stopped with all the medications and all the Western medicine stuff, and
Everything.
I'm going to go the holistic route. I'm going to go this, I'm going to use my crystals. I'm going to use my Reiki. I'm going to, spiritually
balance. My chakras, spiritually balance. It was just, you have to take your power back. And that's part of it, is you become so dependent on others to fix you. It's like, honey, my back hurts, fix it. And how many times, this poor guy, did I tell him this? Like, come on, come fix me, come work on me. And, that was a struggle for us too, of course, because the poor guy has to,
I know he works on people all day, and he comes home and he's got to,
and he's got to deal with me. I mean, it was just not fun. Yeah. So now he's like, yes, I will buy you whatever crystals you want, as long as you're happy. I mean, look, so now he comes home with things like this. Yeah, I mean, not often, but like,
I love those butterfly crystal behind you.
Thank you.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Thank you. Those are mine, by the way.
It is so fantastic. I love those the amethysts like that. That's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yes. My amethyst wings, my amethyst heart. These were gifts from him. The heart he actually gave me, it was the Christmas. So coming up on, my gosh, are we at 5 or 6 years anniversary? I'm not sure now, that I was healing from the surgery, and I couldn't even lift it. Cause after the surgery, you can't lift more than, I don't know, it was like 5 pounds or something. And this thing is a beast. It's like, it's small. It looks small. It's not.
Small.
It's like, well, in that picture, you can kind of see it's like bigger than my head, actually, like in person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would get up, but that might be.
And I love the foxes. She added the foxes.
Yeah, I added foxes to the box then.
Hey,
And
the butter,
like
excuse
right
me, but
next
as
to the
Mark
cars.
pointed out, the butterfly wings are there. And they were there before the foxes.
I know.
All I have is my meditating frog.
Oh, cute. I've been looking at him going, is that a frog?
Oh,
I have one of those
it.
Zen. I have a Zen bunny like that. He's a little bit bigger, but yeah, I have the Zen bunny.
Oh, I love it. So is the frog, do you have a certain connection there, or
Not really, other than I
just liked it?
love the meditating frog, and it made me laugh. And I think you have to surround yourself with things that just make you smile.
Give you
And so,
joy? Yeah.
Yes. So it makes me laugh.
Yeah, you can always look up frog as a spirit guide, which is very powerful, actually. And
see, and that means it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Russian culture, they say when you sneeze after saying something, it means it's the truth.
He's done the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, like
so it's
spirit, animal spirits, all that kind of stuff. Like I could look up
Good night, Carmen.
what they are. I had a new deck. Right?
Oh, shut up.
Woodland animals. But there's one in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Out of all these, This one here has a good one about the frog. So while you guys talk amongst yourself, I'm going to see if I can't find the
She's
frog.
so nice. So what happens when you come to join us, Mark?
Yes, well, everybody does their own thing.
You never
Yeah.
you never know
Everybody,
what's
we
going to
all
happen.
do our own thing.
Careful, they might keep you here next,
Because I came on as Gina used to came on my show a couple of times, and we sort of back and forth, and then she had her co-host had gone on to bigger and better things. I think Gina drove me nuts. And it's just,
Mama D, you're gonna be in trouble.
I'm far enough away. I'm good. Okay. I'm up in Quebec. She's down there, Philly. I'm good.
Jeez, like I had to go through the whole deck to get this many cards left to find the frog.
we had to listen to her story. Yeah.
But
so
I've
Tina,
been
you're
here
in California. Darlene, you're in Connecticut, and Gina, you're in
No,
Philadelphia.
Darlene's in Quebec.
I'm in I'm actually in northern PA.
And where are you, Dr. Mark or Dr.
I'm in
Halpern?
Toronto.
Oh, you're in Toronto.
He's
Okay.
I could go. I got people in Ontario. My son's in. My youngest son is in London.
Oh wow! We just drove down to Reading, Pennsylvania, 2 weeks ago, for the first time since before the pandemic went into the States. And we actually saw. I don't know if you've read my book. You know that I used to tour around as a deadhead in the '80s with the band The Grateful
Dead.
I
wanted to bring this up. I was
a big deadhead in the '80s, and so
I love it.
This band, which is young kids, well, in their late 20s, early 30s, they're called Goose. And a friend of mine turned me on to a band called Goose. I really hadn't gotten into a band in 30 years. And I really loved Goose. And so they were playing in Syracuse, New York, and then Reading, Pennsylvania. And so me and my wife and another couple, we said, let's go. And so we drove down and we saw a couple of concerts, and it was like, wow, it's like being back on tour in the 80s. It was wonderful.
Right? Now Reading is not far from my house. It's like 40 minutes. We do paranormal stuff, and we do actually an event that we hold at the Pagoda in Reading. Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
at Santander Arena we went to.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, not far at all. But wait till you listen to this about this frog. All right. So the symbolism is a feminine energy, creation, that type of thing. But it says the frog is a creature of the water and has been associated with a new life. Okay. Egypt, frogs were placed on mummies to facilitate rebirth. The abundance of frogs at the time around the Nile flood also associated them with I don't even want to know what that word is. Fecundity. I don't know what that is. South America, the people there considered the frog to be the lord over the water, a feminine symbol, and did not kill them. American Native Indians placed the frog, and what the heck? The frog has been it's been associated with the moon, and also has been a feminine symbol, and the story tells of the frog jumping into the moon where it rules for eternity. But this one, actually, this isn't the one that I was thinking, but that's the picture of it, and it looks like it's
I like the frog jumping into the moon. We have the full moon this week, so that's kind of
it's got to be the other one with the frog that has the better
Dr. Mark's going to be there with his happy frog.
That's right.
I'm going to be trying to jump into the moon.
There is the song.
Holding on to my levitalite. Please stay calm. Please stay calm.
That happy frog song. What is it? Oh my God, we used to listen to that all the time. It's one of those weird songs, but it's funny. Anyway, all right, let's reel ourselves back in. But it could be something though to do with the frog, and it's a rebirth, which is you're offering people new lives, really. So I think it's a good symbol.
Yeah, it's also frogs usually look happy and friendly.
Yeah, I know.
Which you are. So maybe that's like your spirit animal.
That's as simple as it can be.
That's right. That's right. So I'm like the fox, she's a butterfly, and she's an owl. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, they're rounding up the forest over here.
Well, my wife Aviva's thing is definitely the butterfly about rebirth and kind of transformation. And when we've done a lot of the Dr. Joe workshops, there's a lot of butterflies there. And it was actually really interesting. The one, he always has a theme to his events. So we went to one and butterflies was the event. And we were in a conference room on an all-inclusive resort in Mexico that was sealed off in the middle of, like, we were in a room that was not outdoors, and it was kind of in this sealed off room. And then right near the very end, when he was kind of saying goodbye, all of a sudden these two butterflies just flew across the stage, and it was almost like he planted them there, but he swears that he didn't. But it was like, where did these butterflies come from? And but yeah, very, very.
I love that synchronicity. That's so cool. Yeah. Well, and very symbolic of your own change and transformation from
exactly,
the workshop. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love that. But and this was down in Mexico. Can I ask, was it below like Puerto Vallarta kind of area? Like
we were in, it was just
in the middle of nowhere,
just south of Cancun.
Oh, okay, on the other side.
He always whenever he does his week-long events, I almost want to go to the like most simple place, because like we were in Mexico at a 5 diamond resort where I don't usually stay at 5 diamond resorts, but this was like the best of the best. But you're in meditation most of the day. Right. So you see it anyway. He gives you a half hour for an hour for lunch. You're like, okay, I'm on a gorgeous resort in the middle of Mexico, but what am I can't do anything. I couldn't go to the beach. You can't use the pool, So it was like, geez, I didn't really get to enjoy the resort, but you're so enveloped in the whole week-long event that by the end of it, you've gone through this massive transformation.
That's what counts.
Yeah.
Counts. You can go see those, Mexican dragons anytime. That's what dragons run.
I mean, it's still not bad being in a beautiful location, right?
Oh,
I mean, it's still
yeah.
Yeah, you get some nice pictures at least, right? In between.
Some gorgeous pictures, and we'll go back.
Yeah. Right. And then you can go back for vacation and enjoy the place and do all the touristy things. And I loved riding the horses on the shores there. Go tour all the Mayan
ruins and everything. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, it's like maybe, a lot of people can't do those things, but if you can, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do for yourself. If you're going to take vacation, if you have this anxiety, this is kind of like the point I was kind of building up to before. It's like you have all this anxiety about going on a trip, and you seriously have to, you have it in your head that you gotta go, go to a place like that, do something like that, go and be.
And I find too, and I just to interject, I think why Lepidolite helps so much or can help so much is people that are struggling, from my experience, are struggling with anxiety like this. They have all this fear of what's coming, right? But then the problem is they get there and they're in this beautiful place and they still are worried that they can't turn it off. And it's not like once you reach the destination, everything's fine. It doesn't really work like that. It's like, okay, I'm in the destination and now they can't stop spinning over, oh, but then when I leave, I have to do this, or, oh, when that happened, that, and it's just this constant, battle within their own minds, really. I mean, it's almost like they're their own worst enemy. So I really, really feel for them that's why it's so important to try to, do things that kind of keep you in the moment, because
and that is exactly
what matters anyway.
Started this show.
Yes.
I'm going to be happy when I get there. I'm going to be happy.
in the moment, there is no stress.
No peace.
The fact is depression is usually about thinking about what's happened in the past. Anxiety is generally what you're worrying about in the future. The only place that there really none of that is really right here in the present moment. And when I am not anxious is when I'm right here in the present moment. Whenever I let myself go to, let my brain go to what may or may not be, or what may or may not have happened, that's when you get into trouble. So anything that you can do to be in the moment, that's why, I talk about in the book, I used to do I still do some. I'm just older now, but a lot of really high energy or dangerous things. But it wasn't because it was dangerous. You know, when I jumped from a plane or when I was skiing, you know, going heli skiing or scuba diving or whatever it wasn't for the danger aspect. It was because it forced you to be in the moment. And you know, if you're skiing down a powder bowl or you're scuba diving with sharks, you can't be thinking about what went wrong yesterday at work or what you might do tomorrow. You've got to be right there and in the moment. And so, you know, where other people are like terrified, I'm almost at peace because I can be right here and right in the moment. So the idea is you obviously don't want to have to swim with sharks just to be in your peaceful place. But to create that on your everyday, no matter what you're doing, to be in the moment, don't give yourself that, luxury of being able to think about everything that goes wrong in your life or may go wrong in your life or has gone wrong in your life. You really do have to stay engaged in whatever you're doing. So if you're cooking, you're there cooking. And if you're watching a movie, you're watching the movie. The trick is to be able to do that.
But hopefully you will learn your lesson if you do those crazy things and find out, like you get hurt, like my one and only time skiing when I had the agony of defeat, both of them.
Yes.
I dragged off the mountain on a stretcher.
Oh no, really?
All that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was my first time skiing. I went with boots stuck into, skis. They didn't even come out. The bindings were broken. It doesn't work, so I went, head over. Because I hit the moguls and stuff. I was like, I was crazy. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. I mean, all my friends, they took lessons their whole lives. I never did. I never put a pair of skis on. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's go. And
there you went.
It's a great attitude.
All night. And then they said, let's go one more time. Yep.
And that was it.
Never do one more time.
That's the thing. Just one more. How many times does that get you in trouble? Just one more.
It's terrible. I usually say, like, let's do a couple more, even though I know that it's my last run. Right. I don't ever want to say it's my last run.
No, I know, right? But I wanted to ask you, when you were talking about the Grateful Dead, did you go, because we could have been at the same concert at the same time. Yes. It was the very last general admission concert that they ever had at Cape Cod Coliseum. Had to be late 70s.
That would have been fabulous, but no, I didn't start going until 1988.
Oh,
you guys just missed each other then, huh?
Yeah, that means that you went to a Dead show in Cape Cod. Good for you.
Oh yeah, That was my whole life when I was, teenager, early 20s. Was concerts and everything, but yeah, Dead, The Who. I went to go see the Rolling Stones, but it wasn't the Rolling Stones. It was Keith Richards and the Barbarians in New York. But yeah, many
all fun stuff. The fact is it was it really was freedom, and that's what we loved about it. We drove across the country in my parents' minivan to California. We did it several times, but it was about the band, but it was also about seeing the country. We saw everything. It was like Jack Kerouac's On the Road. You're basically just going to see all aspects of the country and seeing so many different things, having the experiences, sleeping in the car, sleeping in wherever. That'll never happen again.
You really can't can't do these things anymore. It's like the end of
my kids asked me to take my vehicle and drive across the country and maybe call me every few days or so. No. The answer would be no. I mean, it's just not happening.
But if no GPS, and there's no.
I know we didn't have phones. We didn't have any.
We had a map.
It was so free.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It was a different time, though. I always ask my parents, what were you thinking? I was 17, 18 years old, and you're letting me take your car and go across that. What were you thinking? And they were just like, well, you're a good kid. So,
Yeah, my mom had this huge Impala. I used to take that thing when we'd go. We used to party out in the woods, and I take that thing out there. I'm like spinning it out in the fields and stuff. I come home, there's grass hanging out of it.
It's so funny though.
I love that.
Those are the days. It was fun. It was free, and now we don't have that luxury. The kids don't have that luxury. It's too many, like there's perils out there, and you have to be painfully aware of the things that can happen. in the
And maybe part of it is we're so constantly connected. You see it all the time. What's happening? This state, that state, this city, this app, that app. It tells you. Back then, like, you didn't know what was going on. So I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, kids. Yeah, go out into the Wild West, no problem. But now it's like, but there are dangers out there that we didn't know about back then that are here now. And I don't think that they weren't necessarily there before. I mean, there's always been,
well, our biggest
come on,
thing
we had like the stranglers, we had like
across
serial killers running around.
There was always that stuff. We're just more aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we used to be, you would think that there was a lot more freedom back then, and there was all this sort of, there was a lot less parents being on top of you. But on the same note, we're having conversations with our parents now or with our kids that we never had then. Both of my kids are very much emotionally aware. They're aware of their friends' feelings and how what they said affects their friends. And, I remember my son, it was 2 years ago already. I think he was 12 years old. And a friend of his I think he was like 6 foot at that point, but he was also he was fairly big, a big boy. And he ate a lot. And I think he had like, when he came over to our place, he brought like 4 bags of chips just for himself. And, and my son said to him at some point, something to the effect of like, why do you eat so much? He's like, well, I get embarrassed sometimes and I'm a big boy and, I don't want to say anything. And he was just talking about his insecurities. And my son at 12 he said, this is what he said to the kid. He's like, well, I'm your friend and you don't have to worry about things like that with me. And you can just be yourself. And I thought, wow, no one ever really spoke like that. We just emotionally aware as 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids.
That's awesome. And that's amazing. And that's completely and totally due to you, I think.
Yep.
Well, perhaps, my daughter too, who always leads with her heart. But the fact is kids now have to talk about many issues that we never thought about, whether it's gender identity or racism or whatever it is. The conversations that are happening now are far ahead of where we were when we were younger.
Well advanced, yeah.
Right, we're just trying to keep up now.
Ed, we wouldn't even have something like that, and now that's like so minute in the main scheme.
And in some ways it's good, and in some ways it's very confusing, which is where parents still have to come in, because now we do have to be more aware of where their emotions are at. HeartMath actually has a book for kids, which I've read with both of my kids, simply because learning how to breathe and learning how to self-regulate from a young age, before you maybe develop an anxiety disorder, but all of these things are starting from when you're a child. So if you can start to learn how to self-regulate at a young age, neither of my kids are going to be, it's not going to be out of left field for them to start doing some of this work when they're in their late teens and 20s, because they've been exposed to it a little bit. And, not that they're diving in so excited about it. They're still teens. They're not like, yeah, let's go practice, but they're at least open to the ideas. Right. So, kids now, it's good they're ahead of schedule, but at the same time, they're still kids, and you've got to be able to guide them and help them understand what it all means.
Right.
And so many of us parents are still trying to figure it out ourselves, right? I mean, there's no manual. Like we're on the same journey, and that's maybe, like, for me personally, one of the harder things about being a parent is like, look, I'm human too, like we're trying to figure it out together. And okay, I got a few years ahead of you, but maybe a few more experiences. But like you said, the world they're growing up in is very different. And, I feel like some of the times we're just trying to catch up.
That's right.
And then when it comes to like anxiety, it was, so it was interesting. You were talking about skydiving and being crazy and doing all these like super dangerous, swimming with sharks, whatever. If you Google things to do to help with anxiety, like the first 20 of those things are high action, dangerous, high adrenaline activities. And I was looking at, to help them like step out of their anxiety. And I'm like, I remember looking at this list, like this list is giving me anxiety. And I don't have anxiety. Like, whoa. So I think I would love to see actually, a list that doesn't involve, right? Like, let's put that at the top of Google. Yeah, like let's put that at the top of Google where you have some ideas that aren't, gonna
Dangerous,
possibly endanger your life or end with like broken bones, right?
Well, and,
right?
and I think, to bring it sort of full circle, what I do in the book is I go through each aspect of your life, from your career to your friends, and it gives you an opportunity to dive into each one to find out really what you want and what will help in each case, so that by the end of it, you can look at what you can do in so many different scenarios in your life to bring you back to the present moment, because that's really what it's all about. What can you do to snap yourself up? I call it a neurological interrupt. Sometimes just doing that is a neurological interrupt. It shakes you and you're like, oh, something's different. Some people wear an elastic band and they snap it on their wrist. Again, just neurological interrupts, snap you out of whatever the physiological state you're in. But it can be done in so many different ways. The pictures on your desk might be different than the pictures in your bathroom, different in your car. Do you have a different smell in your car? Do you have different music playing in your car than at home? The idea is to get very conscious about this so that you can make a plan for yourself, so that every day in every scenario, you're prepared and you know yourself, and you know that you might need something to help get you back into the present moment, but you've got that toolbox. And so, it's not a cookie cutter fits all, but it is a process that everybody should go through. You might just get something different out of the process.
Right. Yeah. So it's a great bottom line. It may have its own little heartbeats. It might have its own little hiccups, but you learn that once you get the basics down, and then you know what your own triggers are and what your own things are. And that's what the point is to find out what your things are.
Yes.
Right? And then you can go from there. So it's really, you've done all the work,
Right.
We just need to put it at the top of Google so everybody else sees it too.
Yes.
Let's get it up there.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's why, like, when me and Mama D, we bring these shows for that reason, and we always say, even if we just help one person, even if just one, it's a beginning, because then that one person can heal, and that one tells another one and another one, and poof, I mean, I want to help thousands, don't get me wrong, I really do, but
it starts with one.
Yep.
It does. It starts with one, and that one ripples out.
If we start thinking about, oh my God, we only have 5 people in the show today. Oh my God, there's only, we forget about all the trickle down theories, all the dominoes that 5 people in the thing will. So for me, it's like this group here, we're sitting at a coffee table in a restaurant, and we're having conversation, and we're getting to know each other. You're sharing your story, you're sharing everything about you, but there are people that eavesdrop and listen. So this is a closed session technically, but there's so many people eavesdropping that they're learning from it.
And we'll get to watch it later, and see it on the internet now.
Well, I remember a very eye-opening experience for me as a chiropractor who was very physical, physical therapy in nature. This would probably happen a decade or so ago. I worked at York University in Toronto, so I saw a lot of students. And this girl kept coming in. I call her a girl. She was probably 20, 21, but she was a younger woman. And she had chronic pain, and so much so that she at times would hobble in, barely sit on my table. And I said, is there anything else going on in your life that's happening? Maybe there's other components to this. And she said, yeah. I said, well, if you don't feel comfortable sharing with me, I just want to sort of give you some advice that maybe you should try letting it go, doing some therapy or doing something. And she goes, oh, I could never let it go. I'd feel way too guilty. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So then that conversation was over, and she came back in a week later, and she walked in the door. She sat down at my table. No, none of this, none of the complaints. And everything was different about her. So I said, what happened? She said, well, I left your session the other day, and I was just thinking about it, and I just started to cry because I felt like I hadn't dealt with this problem, and I just started to cry. And after I cried, I just felt better. And I said, so great. So, I'm glad I can help you, but maybe you should just go home and watch Bambi, because watch something that's going to make you cry, and it's going to really help.
No, there's a difference though. You helped her have an emotional release. Bambi is not, she's going to cry for Bambi. She's crying because you made her focus and zoom in on what her emotional attachment was. So
yeah, I mean, yes.
Good job.
I agreed, except for
the crying still, no matter what.
The connection between the pain and the crying that she needed to see.
Is a good release.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that it was there. I also had another student one time. It was really strange. Thankfully, she came in with her boyfriend because I adjusted her neck. And as a chiropractor, the worst thing happened. I adjusted her neck, and literally within 3-4 seconds, she started bawling her eyes out on my table. And I thought, oh God, it's the last thing you want to see is someone hurt from your care or something. So her boyfriend said, wow, I don't understand. And then they related to me a story that the day before I didn't know, this girl hadn't opened up to me, but she had been suffering with depression. And the boyfriend says, she hasn't cried in over 5 years. And it turns out that even the day before she worked at Starbucks, she had gone into the back room of Starbucks at her break and locked the door because she was having a panic attack and she was trying to cry, but nothing happened. And so as soon as I physically dealt with a stress point in her neck, it released that endorphin release, and she just started bawling her eyes out. So I was really happy he was there to relate all this to me. So I felt that a good thing was happening rather than a negative thing happening.
Then, oh my God, I broke her neck.
Right. So it was a big release. But again, it was this whole physical connected to emotional, and it goes back and forth. You can affect the physical through the emotional. You can affect the emotional through the physical. It's all connected. And so, sometimes you just need to, I see these examples in my practice that will at least bring it all to reality.
Yeah, I love that. Are you still practicing chiropractic?
Yeah, I practice full time still.
Okay.
Right, Midtown Toronto.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So next time I'm in Toronto.
Yes, please.
Right. I'll have to stop by on my way to Mama D's.
Road trip.
Yep. I'm telling you, it's going to happen one of these days. Mama D's going to open her door and I'm going to be standing there.
And I'm going to have a heart attack.
I'll bring wings.
Okay then. Good.
Yeah, it'll be great. It will be great. Oh my gosh, we only have 10 minutes left. Are you doing okay, Athena? Are you all right?
I'm good.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
My husband came home early, and soccer isn't until after 7, so I'm good today. Yay!
Oh, awesome.
Unless you want me to step off, and then that's totally okay too. Okay.
Absolutely not. No, I just don't want to, make sure I don't keep you from anything. But
you don't want children being upset with us because they were late with soccer mom.
I know. Sometimes I have to jump off. I have to be soccer mom, and this is.
I love her kids. Her kids
part of my life too.
She's got the most beautiful kids. Picture perfect, gorgeous.
I mean, I think so, but I'm biased. So.
No, hopefully.
Yeah. And that's not saying that my girls aren't beautiful, because they are, and
they are. Yes,
Mama D's kids are.
I haven't seen Mama D's kids. I've only seen that little grandbaby you had. You had tucked up next year too. She was the cutest little. Oh, so
do you have any grandkids yet, Mark?
Not yet, thankfully. my daughter is not 18 yet, and my son is 14. So
okay,
you have time. Yeah, we have time. Yes. So ours are close. I have 16, 14, and 8. So we're right in the thick of it with those teens, right?
No, we're going.
Glad mine's over with.
University's about to start and all that kind of stuff. So,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The next phase.
That's a scary thing. Oh my God, my daughter.
And these are the times. Yeah, and these are the times they really need all of your guidance, especially your book, because they're going to be facing a whole new, new everything, and that can be quite the adjustment.
Yeah, the problem is at this point, Dad is one of the last people they want to listen to, so I've got to get my messages in a different way. They're very loving kids, but they also,
But you're still Dad.
I'm still Dad, so thankfully though we can still talk. I do tell them every day that I'm grateful that they keep me in the loop. We have conversations about it. And even the other day, my son just kind of blurted out that he was experiencing social anxiety at times. And I'm like, why haven't you told anybody? He goes, I didn't want to tell anybody. I'm like, well, thank you. Now we can chat about it,
Right.
Yeah.
because I never would have known. So
Right. And especially, I mean, because you talk about it a lot, and it's, at least it's working and it's gone through, and this is what we need more in this world. I swear to God we do, and I'm going to go on my rant, because we have too many children having children who don't know how to raise children, and people that do have the children, they thinking they're doing their good deeds by shipping them off to the most expensive things that they can do. And it's like, what you got to do? You got to keep them a little bit at home and teach them the basics.
Yeah.
So that
and we're coming out of this pandemic where life is nuts and everybody has like social anxiety all of a sudden. It's like crazy. But you wouldn't know it, right, Mark? I mean, sorry, Dr. Mark. You wouldn't know it, right? Most people, like, you didn't recognize in your own son. So many people are out there walking around. So I'm saying this needs to be at the top of Google. You need to be at the top of Google. So many people
you would never know.
You have no idea.
Yeah. You really don't. And even with myself, some of my patients who are reading my book now, they just would have no idea that, what anxiety was for me, or that it would have even been something I suffered with, or, and that's why I sort of came out and started talking about it, because people have to know how common it is, and that they're not alone, and that there is so much of this out there, and that there's something that you can do about it to change your life and start to change the way you function in society. But it takes work, and it takes a bit of understanding. And I think, as you were saying before, Gina, there's I've done some of the work in that. There's things that won't work, don't do it. And there's things that do it. And why not use people that have been there and done that, and try to learn from them.
And it's expensive. These things that you've done and places you've gone, it's expensive.
I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. Yes,
exactly. So that they will do nothing, as opposed to the fear of doing the wrong thing, right?
Yes.
Fear is what is that revolving door that, stops everyone, from going forward. They're just stuck.
Well, I think, one of the things I learned as a chiropractor and someone who's gone through anxiety is movement and motion is the key to life. You've got to keep moving. You've got to keep in motion. And that's why, anxiety can just be stored up energy. And that's why moving is one of the best things you can do. Immediately, as soon as you start to feel anxiety, move your body. Keep moving, keep breathing, keep moving, keep breathing, because otherwise you get into that short rhythm, short breaths, and you're frozen, because, the fight or flight system can sometimes be called the fight, flight, or freeze, because you can also just feel frozen. You don't know what to do. Move, start to move, whether it's get up and go for a walk, get out, just move your body. And as soon as you start to move, you get unstuck. So, there's lots of things you can do, but movement is the key to life. Keep moving.
That is right. And you know what else? Christmas is right around the corner. This would be a fabulous book to buy for people on your Christmas list that suffer from anxiety or depression or any of the symptoms that we talked about tonight. All right. This would be a fabulous.
Well, if I may, the book everybody here can download for free. The course is an awesome gift, because with the code, I did create a code for everybody tonight. It's only for this group. It's CR30. When you go to checkout of the course, it will give you 30% off of the course. And it's a few $100s, but you can do it over your own time. It is an incredible gift to give to someone, that they can go through this program and change their life. Everything that's in there changed my life. Every aspect of it is what helped me live an inspired, happy life. So I really encourage people to get this program, read the book, and you'll get the whole package together. But it will. If you go through this and do the work, you will make a change in your life. There's nobody that's gone through this course that hasn't said to me afterwards that it's impactful for them. And the amazing thing is we've had men who are in their 50s and 60s and 20s. We've had women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Everybody has gotten something different out of it. Somebody's going to really have gotten something out of the career portion out of it. Someone else gets something out of the auditory portion out of it. Someone else just likes the breath work. The idea is that there's going to be something in there that is going to resonate and change your life. And I don't say that lightly, because
Exactly. It's true.
to change your life is an important thing, and a
Yes.
significant thing. But
It's
you
true.
will. You just have to do the work.
It's true. And we're
Just a
always
quick-
saying that.
just a quick question, Mark. You said the Sierra 30 code will give them a 30% discount on the course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do have to do the work. People always want everything just given to them. No, you do have to do the work. To get the best benefits out of anything
Yes.
in the world, if you do the work, is where you're going to
And it's
strive.
even better when the work is fun.
It's
Yeah.
It's so much better when the work is fun. I so
Yes.
agree with that. Yeah, because why does work always have to be a drag? I mean, I love my work personally. Like,
Yeah.
my work is so much. That's why I keep doing it. That's why I'm here every week, because I'm like, this is so much fun. I get to talk about crystals. I get to help people heal. I get to help people
Yes.
feel better.
Yes.
Similar, to you get to help people get out of this, bondage of, their anxiety and start living a little freer. And I mean, gosh, just being able to see the effects of that is, or people who watch this show, being able to see how joyous they are afterwards. Like,
right.
that's, it's not always not fun, right? Sometimes the work is the best kind of work.
It is because it's going to be an addiction. Once you have that first breakthrough, that first thing that makes you feel good, that hug the dog in the morning, the hug, you know what I mean? Whatever, the wonderful face, your neighbor coming over, your long lost friend all of a sudden appearing, that wonderful feeling that you get, the coming into the Fox Den every week, that wonderful feeling
Coming into the Fox
that you get, right? That's what you want. That is what you want to grab onto and hold on to, and that is the coherence revolution. So join it. Join the coherence revolution, right? Viva la
Revolution.
But Mark, thank you so much for being patient with us and letting us reschedule and actually getting to have you on the show. Appreciate you so much. I appreciate you that you're doing this for the listeners with the book, with the money off of the course and everything else. It's just, hands down, you're just a great guy.
Well, thank you for having me. And, I've done a lot of podcasts and radio interviews over the last year. I really like the vibe that you guys have set up of this show.
Thank you.
There are a lot of people who don't, I don't know what it was, but there's a vibe that you guys have set up around this show, and just between the 2 and 3 of you, it's great. It's very attractive.
Oh,
thank
well,
you.
we love you. We love you. We love our
these ladies. All from these ladies.
It's everybody, and it's what we do, and why we do it is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. So everybody, okay, so this is Monday. I know it's an odd night for the Fox Den, but we will be back on Thursday, and we're going to, continue this kind of theme going on in Divine Trust. It's kind of the same thing. It's trusting in other things that's, to heal you, to help. Yes, so that's what we are doing. Hang with us for just a second, Mark, Athena, and everybody else. We'll see you Thursday, our regular time. Ciao, ciao.
Good.
Happy full moon.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode in the Fox Den. We're here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our anchor venues. We would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, and please subscribe, share, and definitely hit the notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop